Good morning. I hope you're doing good. Oh, I hadn't talked to anybody this morning. Can you tell? Except Chris. Poor Chris. He hears me talk all the time, but he's been asleep this morning. He's kind of a tired little guy. Well, he's kind of a big guy, but he's still tired. Which either way you want to measure it, he's still tired. Anyway, I hope you're having a good morning. Excuse me. I hope you're having a good week. Hope you're having a good month. This month is almost over, but today's my baby sister's birthday. I won't tell you how old she is, but she's getting on up there. She's fixing to cross over the hill into the 50s here pretty soon, just in another couple of years or so. So that'll give you an idea, right? Anyway, hope you're having a good morning. Hope you're having a good week, etc. Make sure you check out my bookstore. There's stuff in the works. I'm promising people something's coming. There's stuff coming. Check out my Amazon store, my YouTube channel. I got lots of stuff going on, and in my brain, and several projects going, and just don't be surprised pretty soon when stuff starts dropping in there. So you want to keep up with all that. And make sure you check out my bookstore, the Dove's Fire Ministry, Dove's Fire Ministries bookstore.com. The link is in the description, I think, because there may be some stuff that you haven't seen yet. I've got about 12 books, I think, that I've written on there, something like that. So study guides, devotionals, things like that. Okay, that gives everybody a minute to get on. I hope you're here. Ready? Let's go. I discovered something this morning. So I was thinking, actually, I was praying about some of my own needs. I'll just start there, right? And I was going, okay, God, I don't know. There's this and there's that. And then I just thought, you know what? I know God's got it. I know He's got me. I'm still here. He's always provided. He's always helped. He's always been and I was just thanking Him, actually, took a few minutes to just thank God for being the sustainer of my soul, and being my provider, and just he gives us peace in the middle of the storm. And just I was thinking through some of those things, and just thanking God for always being there, right? And so and then I was expressing a couple of needs. I was like, okay, God, I really kind of need this pretty soon. I know you ain't on our time limit, but I got to have this by this date, right? I was thinking about that, a few things like that. And I started thinking then about how Jesus fed 5,000 one time, and He fed 4,000 another time. So I started digging because I was like, I want to make sure that it was that was two different stories. Because it can be confusing a little bit. And I'm like, I'm sure it is, but did each gospel just tell a different one, and did they get the numbers wrong? So I looked, and no, He fed 5,000 first, and then in Matthew and Mark did the same thing. In Matthew, I think it's 14 and 16 along in there, uh, He fed 5,000, and then two chapters later, He fed 4,000. Same thing in Mark. He fed 5,000. Then a couple of chapters later, He fed 4,000. And so I thought, what were the disciples thinking? The first time, this was something that was interesting. The first time Jesus said, they were like, how are we going to feed all these people? And Jesus said, what do you have? And they're like, we don't know. He said, well, go find out what you have. They didn't even know what they might have that He could use. And that right there would preach. What do you have today that He can use? We pray a lot, or I do. Use me to help people find that peace. Use me to help people find salvation. Use me to help people, encourage people to read His Word. But they didn't even know. Sometimes we don't know what we have God can use. So that's a good prayer to start with this morning. Is, God, what do I have that you can use to bless other people? So they went and looked. They came back, and let's see, what was the first one? 5 loaves and 2 fishes, and you're going to feed 5,000 people, and at the end, you're going to have 12 basketfuls left over. So that's pretty cool, right? Then, two chapters later, they've got a bunch of people, and Jesus asks them again. He says, they're like, what are we going to do? We got all these people here. We got to send them away. We can't feed all these people. And He goes, you can feed them. And this time He didn't say, go look. He said, how much do you have? And first time He said, go find out. The second time He said, what do you have? And they already knew how much they had. Seven loaves and a few little fishes. So maybe in between the first feeding and the second feeding of the miraculous feeding, maybe they learned a little bit. Because the first time He had to tell them, go see what you have. And the second time He asked them, what do you have? And they already knew. So maybe they were kind of going, is He going to do it again? Because if they'd seen it the first time, did they learn in between? Did they understand? Were they coming to an understanding that God was going to provide whatever was needed in the moment? Were they coming to that understanding that He's got us? Right? And I hope that this devotional is doing that for all of us. It's helping me a little bit. He's got us. maybe we don't need loaves and fishes, but maybe we need peace and money, or maybe we need comfort, maybe we need joy, maybe some of you need salvation. You haven't come yet to understand what that means, and maybe you haven't prayed and said, God, I want to be your kid, right? But he's got whatever we need, and he can use whatever we've got. So when I was a kid, I wanted to share this. I haven't seen anything as miraculous as this, right? But I do know when I was a kid, people would just start showing up at my mom's house, even as when I was an adult too. And my mom's house could be, we often called it Grand Central Station because people would stop by, just stop by on their way home from work or stop by on a Saturday afternoon. And before you knew it, we'd have maybe 20 people gathered. William and Daddy would be sitting over there playing guitars, and the women would be in the kitchen around the table, maybe playing a card game or laughing or cutting out. We didn't plan, she didn't even plan gatherings. People would just come, right? And sometimes she'd say, well, we're going to have to get something to eat. And I can remember more than once, and sometimes it was Sunday afternoons, and sometimes it was just, people would just show up, right? And she would say, well, let's just fix something to eat. Let me go see what we got. She would make a meal, and I can remember looking at it thinking, that ain't enough to feed this many people. And she'd say, it don't look like much, we're going to bless it, and it's going to be enough. We'd bless the meal, say thanks for the meal, and say our prayers, and sure enough, nobody walked away hungry. There was usually leftovers from what appeared to not be enough. Now, did God do a miracle? I don't know, but it was great. We all got full, right? I can't imagine living these stories with Jesus and breaking off a piece of bread. In the first story of the 5,000, it said Jesus took the 5 loaves and 2 fish and looked towards heaven, asked God's blessing on the food, and breaking the loaves into pieces, he kept giving bread and fish to the disciples to give to the people. So they kept coming back, and he just kept having more bread and more fish. Can you imagine what it was like to just go, I'll go see if he's got more because I got more people, and just having that abundance, having exactly what you need for that moment? That would be such an amazing thing. Now, I want to draw that parallel to our lives, because isn't that how he works out our lives so many times? We think, how are we going to make it? I don't have this, I don't have that. And yet every time, well, we live through it first off because we're all still here, right? And he continues to provide in the natural, but better than that, he continues to provide in our spirit man, in our soul. Because that peace, you can't buy peace, y'all. If you hadn't noticed, you can't go to the store and get a little package of peace and go, I've got peace. Woo, I got it, right? You can't buy grace. You can't buy that mercy. You can't buy God's love. And yet it's always there. And when we take some of it and we need it for today, it's still, the same amount is still there. It never diminishes. It never goes away. And one of the other things about these two stories, it was only Matthew and Mark that recorded both of them, and they're both like right at 2 chapters apiece. But between those two stories, Jesus was our story we talked about so much last week about Jesus coming walking on the water to Peter. They had a storm in between 2 miracles. That's an interesting, that might preach, right? Because sometimes we have these high points, and in between we have these low points where we're like, oh my goodness, is God going to take care of this too? Yes. He also healed a blind man, I believe, in between. He let's see, he healed a deaf and mute man. He healed a woman. She came praying, asking for God to heal her child from a demon that he had, and he did that in between. And so there's all these different things he did in between, sandwiched between 2 miracles. Don't we sometimes feel that way? God came through, woohoo! And God's going to come through on that next one, but in between we got all these little things to navigate. We got all these little things that dig at our peace, is grace really going to cover you this time? Is his peace going to be enough this time? But sandwiched between these 2 very pronounced miracles, right? We have those high times where, wow, God did it again. He got me out of a pinch, or he got me out of a bind, or he provided when I thought there was no way. And in between we got all these things we got to navigate. There's a storm. What are we going to do? Well, Jesus came walking on the water. The blind, the deaf and mute guy. What are we going to do? Jesus just healed him. The lady comes praying. In between, we have more prayers. It's easy to get lost between 2 miracles. It's easy to get lost between 2 really good days and realize, or 2 hours, sometimes it's a couple hours in between, right? But in that in between, there's other stuff that he's providing that he's bringing to the table, that so we see these were two very natural needs. These people needed to eat. And Jesus even said, it's too far to send them away. We can't send them away. They'll faint along the way. There's not enough food to sustain them along the way. Uh, you know, and so, but in between these two, this was a natural need. In between, we had the storm. The disciples were scared, right? It was something new. They hadn't done it. Jesus comes walking to them on the water. Peter gets out of the boat. He sinks. They get back in the boat. The storm is calm, right? Can you imagine seeing someone who was deaf and mute be healed? I would love for Chris to just start talking, right? That would be a miracle. I would welcome any day, right? But in between those miracles was life. In between those miracles was dealing with just stuff, was emotions, was just things going on. And yet Jesus came to their rescue every time. And so I'm guessing that from the first feeding to the second one, the disciples started figuring it out. The first time they had no clue what they had to work with. The second, and he said, go see what you have. They came back with 5 loaves and 2 fishes. The second time he said, what do you have? And he didn't say, go see what you have. They already said, he did ask them, how many loaves do you have? And they said 7 and a few little fish, right? But they had 7 loaves. So they already knew. So in that process, maybe in the storm, maybe during the healings, maybe just watching Jesus work and move, this time they knew they were ready. They were ready for a miracle. And it all comes back down to just trusting him. No matter what a day brings. I shared a couple of posts about this yesterday. I didn't do the video because we were in the hospital and the door was revolving with people coming in constantly, it seemed like. So, but we learn to trust him no matter what. I think the post I put up yesterday was, no matter what the question is, the answer is trust him. And we start figuring that out. The more we see him come to our rescue, the more we see him bring us that peace, the more we see him work in our day-to-day lives, we start figuring it out. We don't get as stressed. Now that's some real peace right there, because we go, okay, everything looks broken, but I'm going to trust God to guide my steps, to guide my work, to guide my thoughts, to guide my heart, and it's going to be okay. And that kind of peace can nobody take away from you. Right? That kind of grace, once you understand his grace and start operating under it and understanding that he's got you no matter what, nobody can take that away. Right? So what do you have? What do you have that he can bless today? What do you have that he can use today? Just offer up yourself to him. If you don't know that you've got anything, to say, you know what, God, just use me to touch somebody else. We've been learning about peace now for over 3 years, so you should be able to speak some peace into somebody's lives. One of the nurses that was working on Chris early in the morning, one I don't know whatever day it was, when it was late at night, whatever, and we were able to just talk about God's peace, and I was able to share a little bit of my journey and just how God has always come through, and was able to minister right there when I was there in the hospital, right, and just share. People going, how do you do this? I'm like, it is God doing it. He gives me strength. I don't even know, right? So we've all got something to give. We've all got a journey we can share, and we've all got that story of he's still bringing us through, because look, here we are. He's obviously still bringing us through. So anything that comes at us, we can just go, God's still got me, and God's still giving me peace. God's still covering me with his grace. God's still got his mercies new this morning for me. It's all going to be cool when it's all done. And then we can look back and go, he fed 5,000. He'll feed 4,000 too. What do we got? We got some bread. Yep, Jesus, we got something. Here we go. We got some bread. We got it. Well, they were starting to figure it out that Jesus was going to take care of them. That's where I'm still on that journey, figuring out he's going to take care of me. He's going to take care of you. Then we can just peace out. Peace out. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.